What is up, NFC East football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC East Roundtable, the first episode of the 2025 season, and we could not be more excited to be back with you. We are just about a month away from football, and the NFC East will be kicking us off in right around a month as we get the Eagles and the Cowboys going head-to-head to kick things off this 2025 NFL season on Thursday Night Football. But in the meantime, we have NFC East Roundtable coming your way each and every week up until the season and all throughout the season. So without further ado, let's bring in the gang. No Rio tonight, if you couldn't notice. He's trying to get Terry McLaurin back to Washington, gang. So he's out there trying to figure that out. But we got J Tuck, we got KB, and I'd love everybody to please give a warm welcome to Simone, who's going to be representing the Philadelphia Eagles this season. Simone, what a time to join the show, fresh off of a Super Bowl. Couldn't be better timing for you to join the NFC East Roundtable.
I know. I have a lot of weight on my shoulders, obviously being here representing the Super Bowl champs, representing the Super Bowl MVP, representing, the face of the league. So I don't take this responsibility lightly, and I plan to represent well.
Love it. Well, it's so great to have you, and it's great to be back with you, J Tuck and KB. I know, J Tuck, you're watching a little preseason ball on the side right now. Your Cowboys, who they got tonight?
We're actually just having our scrimmage versus the Rams out there in Oxnard. So just scrimmage, but we play Saturday versus the Rams in actual preseason. So
preseason.
That's so cool that they record in the scrimmages. That's so cool.
Well, they technically don't, but I know some people who know some people who know some people.
Oh. All right. We'll keep that on the down low.
KB, I know
exactly.
My Bills are hosting your Giants on Saturday. That's on the local NBC affiliate. So, I mean, we'll be able to watch that. I know that's on TV. So it's actual football, even though it's not, but it feels like it's back. We have training camp nearly done here. Hard Knocks kicks off tonight. Training camp almost over, but you have preseason, a full slate of it coming your way this weekend, and we're off and running. We're off and running here on the NFC East Roundtable as well, powered by RotoWire, and once again, so great to have you in for another year. All right, let's kick things off where, I feel like we consistently leave off, J Tuck, and that's talking about a contract situation out of Jerry World. Every time we join the show, it feels like, or at least every month, we have something to talk about when it comes to Jerry Jones trying to get a deal done with one of the Cowboys' best players. This time you could argue it is the Cowboys' best player. Micah Parsons trying to work things out with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, unable to up until this point, and Micah Parsons made it known on social media, I can't take it much more. So I need to get your initial thoughts before we get the rest of the panel. You see that dissertation that Micah Parsons puts out on Twitter through the Notes app. He said, I can't even put all this into a tweet. I got to put the notes screenshots. Talk to me about how you're feeling. Is this just another run-of-the-mill classic contract scenario where it'll eventually get done, or is this more worrisome than usual?
You sure you don't want to start with Simone, the Super Bowl champ? I mean, I'll sit back and be quiet if you want. Simone, feel free to take over, Oh, my God. Here we go. All right. So, Micah Parsons in this contract situation. Now, Jerry had spoken the open night of our training camp about Micah Parsons. And I think the thing that really was a gut punch for a lot of Cowboys fans, self-included, is that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, who was his son, who was the co-owner of the Dallas Cowboys, they haven't even picked up the phone yet to start the negotiations, right? So I feel like that's why a lot of Cowboys fans are starting to feel a little antsy about this, because when it was Dak Prescott, there was some back and forth. When it was CeeDee Lamb last year, there was also back and forth between the agent and the Dallas Cowboys organization waiting on, Justin Jefferson to get the deal. But they haven't even picked up the phone to talk to Micah Parsons' agent, Dave Mujetta, which is one of the best agents in all of football right now. So I think that was disheartening. But I think the thing that really led to the blow up that we're seeing right now is not the negotiations. It's the blatant disrespect that Jerry Jones is not only doing to Micah Parsons, but also other players and Micah's other teammates. So Jerry talked about Micah. He laid a few jabs about it for the opening presser when camp started. Micah and Trayvon Diggs spoke to the press shortly after their first initial practice saying, hey, I don't play for that man. I play for these guys, because Jerry Jones was questioning, well, maybe I shouldn't have signed Trayvon Diggs and maybe I shouldn't have signed Terrence Steele. And all these guys did was go out there and just tear ACL trying to perform for your organization. So I felt like the slap in the face of the players, that's what really got Micah in his feelings a little bit, because he is now, quote unquote, the leader, right? We all kind of knew he's one of the best players when it comes to Dallas Cowboys defense in this roster, but now they put him in a leadership role specifically, and he's leading his own way. So I felt like he's putting his foot down, saying, hey, I get what you're doing. The negotiations, business is business, but let's stop with the extra. Now, here is the weird situation, right? I guess that Micah had met with Jerry Jones back in March. They talked about Brian Schottenheimer, some things that he would like to do with this defense, right? A new leadership role. What do they need to win to win a Super Bowl to compete with Simone's Eagles? And they were having that conversation. But you have to know, when it comes to Jerry Jones, there's always an ulterior motive. And so it kind of snuck in. Well, you mentioned all this stuff, Micah. Well, what about the contract? Like, how much would you? And so he started the contract negotiations, and Micah probably foolishly engaged back and forth with Jerry Jones, right? But then Jerry Jones took it as, oh, we had a deal. We agreed of this price. This is what we're going to do. Everything was set in stone. Now, I grew up watching one of my very favorite movies, which is Jerry Maguire. Nothing is set until it's signed, right? But Jerry Jones, in his mind, feels like they spoke about this in March and agreed to it. So he is not going to sign Micah to another deal, because he's trying to hold Micah to what he said verbally back in March. And it's this weird thing. So like you said, Z-Bot, Micah put out this post. I'm not reading too much into it, because Micah Parsons is literally out there at practice right now. So it was one of those situations you say, you know what, I no longer want to be a Dallas Cowboy. I want to be traded. I want to move on. But you're at practice right now in 11 jersey. So, I think it's just a contract dispute, but I think the deal gets done. But this is going to be an ugly relationship moving forward between the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons, and we'll see how it all shapes out.
Real quick, I want you to elaborate on that one specific part, because that's, of course, what stood out to me the most. We've seen this before. But for Micah Parsons to say, I no longer want to be a Dallas Cowboy, we're kind of watching Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa walk back things that have happened this offseason between those two, Tyreek Hill in particular, and then Tua, of course, kind of calls him out. They've been doing some walking back here. This feels like one of those things, despite getting a contract done or not, where it might be tough to walk it back, at least from the perspective of Jerry Jones. Was that one thing, even if the deal does get done, was that one thing you looked at and you're like, man, he really went there, really made it known, like, I'm going to put an exclamation point on me doubling down getting this contract?
Yes, this is uncharted waters. I know a lot of people say, hey, Dallas Cowboys always wait last minute. Hell, we signed Dak Prescott right before kickoff week 1 last year. But this is the first time a player has vocally and publicly went at Jerry Jones in the front office and voiced their displeasure when it comes to negotiations, and also demanding a trade. So this is a different situation. When you go back to the 90s, Emmitt Smith even missed games, right? But he didn't really go at Jerry in the front office publicly and social media, right? So this is going to be interesting to see how this all works out, because the number one thing when it comes to Jerry is that ego, right? And sometimes he might just pull, you daring me, bro? And it might just get ugly just out of spite. So I feel like this is going to be a situation where it could linger on, because I feel like Micah Parsons is now playing for the guys in the locker room, rightfully so, and Brian Schottenheimer, but not so much with Jerry Jones. But we all know what Jerry Jones and that ego can do. We saw what happened with Mike McCarthy to even Jimmy Johnson. The list goes on and on. So he won't hesitate to make a statement if he feels pressed.
Oftentimes it feels like we have the polar opposites going on here within this division at the GM position, where constantly we're talking about Jerry Jones
GM, what's that? What's that? I don't have one.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to find a different name for Jerry. If we yet to come up with a name, I don't know what we can refer to him as other than Jerry. But we can't refer to anyone other than Howie Roseman as the best GM in the business. And he, of course, has handcrafted the team that just walked to a Super Bowl title this past year and should be the favorite to do it again this year. Simone, just your overall vibes. You're watching the Cowboys walk through another situation like this yet again. You sit back from your pedestal, so to speak, having Howie Roseman, knowing I'm not going to have to deal with this. What are your thoughts on the Micah Parsons situation, knowing, hey, the Eagles have the best defense in the league, and hey, if Micah Parsons walks out from Dallas, then it kind of feels like we might run away with this thing should the Commanders kind of stay where they're at right now?
Yeah, I'm blessed. Definitely starting to feel, for the Cowboys fans, because that's a lot that they have to go through every offseason. So I'm definitely starting to feel a little soft spot for them in that case. But yeah, holdouts, hold-ins, we don't know that in Philly. I can't relate. But I'm very disappointed in Dallas, because Rio's not here, so we can keep it real. Dallas is supposed to be that's the team we're supposed to be going with. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be us and Dallas. You know what I mean? Dallas fell off. We had to deal with the Commanders, not really feeling the Commanders being our top rival in the NFC East, just because they have a mouthpiece that's similar to ours. You know what I'm saying? I like talking trash with Dallas fans. So I do miss the days where Dallas was a little bit more competitive. They were, fighting back. So I do want to see them keep Micah Parsons. But honestly, the biggest reason why I want to see them keep Micah Parsons is because I don't want another team getting Micah Parsons. Like, Micah Parsons could take another team over the top. Like, if the Rams would say got Micah Parsons, if like the Ravens, if the Bills, if a team like that got Micah Parsons, that could take them over the top. So I'm really hoping y'all keep Micah Parsons, because we already know what y'all look like with Micah. You know what I mean? We can handle that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to see Micah Parsons on another team. So I need y'all to figure that out.
Simone said, hey, we already have the Cowboys in check. Just leave Micah Parsons where he's at. We're gonna be just fine.
Exactly.
No, it's killing me. Right. Simone, you kind of alluded to it. You said, I'm starting to feel bad for Cowboys fans. I know if there's one person on this panel who does not feel bad for anybody, it's KB. It's KB. He doesn't care. And if anything, he's saying, I got the next Micah Parsons in this past draft year. We have Abdul Carter, fresh out of Penn State, just like Micah Parsons. He's the next in line here. But KB, here we go again, another Jerry media circle. And we're talking about maybe the best defensive player in the league right now, at least at his age. So you're watching this unfold. Where are you at on this whole thing? Is it different, or is this the usual Jerry rigmarole when it comes to getting contracts done?
Well, as a Giants fan, I know Simone says, "Oh, like it's okay, keep Micah Parsons there." Listen, I need the best competitive advantage possible. Get Micah the hell out of my division, and Terry McLaurin too. Okay, so I'm rooting for their downfall and the teams. I want Micah Parsons gone. I don't think he's actually going to leave. I think this is just his way of making it more public, putting some more pressure on Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones even feels the pressure to begin with, he kind of just does his own thing, doesn't really care about any other, what other people got to say, because he kind of does his own thing every year anyway. So we saw the similar thing that happened with Dak Prescott, and wasn't he signed like the beginning of the season last season or something like that. So I don't know if the similar situation is going to happen here with Micah. I read that note a couple of days ago. I don't remember everything that's on it, but just like Z-Bot said, it kind of stood out to me how he said, like, straight up, I don't want to be a Dallas Cowboy anymore, which I think it's a little on the nose for him to be actually telling the truth. It really just seems like he's faking it. Like
GBT'd that, man.
Yeah, it just seems so on the nose. It's like, and then he says, like, thank you, Dallas fans. Like, bro, you're not even traded yet. What are you talking about? You're still on the team. And like J-Tuck said, he's still practicing. Like, it's got to be for show. It's got to be to try to pressure Jerry Jones to get him a deal. I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of what's going on in Jerry world right now, but my money is on Micah Parsons. They're going to figure out a way to keep him around. He's just this is not like a Dak Prescott situation, because let's be real. Dak Prescott isn't like, top 5 quarterback. Like, oh, you got to keep him around. And, when it comes
I like you.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
For Micah,
who has 3 quarterbacks competing for a starting job.
Hey, the more the merrier, man. We need competition, all right?
Could be the Browns with 6, right?
Competition yields success, okay? Competition yields success all the time. All right, so with Micah, he's a guy you can't allow out the door. You know what I'm saying? You just can't allow Micah Parsons to just leave without like at least trading him or anything like that. Just outright leaving. You just can't let him do that. A guy like Micah Parsons, he's a generational talent. If you could give that label to anybody in the NFL right now, you would give it to Micah Parsons and Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep him around. So I don't think he is going to leave, because then Jerry Jones should just wrap it up and retire if he does let him go. So.
And well, KB, you alluded to it. If it ends up going the way Dak Prescott ended up going, then Micah Parsons could easily see himself being the highest paid non-quarterback in the entire league, as Dak Prescott found his way to a $60 million contract after that whole situation unfolded last season. Before we get to talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and how I feel like they're being disrespected in a way, and I know Jay Tuck and KB are looking at me saying, what the hell is this guy talking about? We'll get there in a second. I want to give a big shout out to the chat, including Door Gunner, with our first super chat of the season. He's coming in and he's saying, never feel sorry for Cowboys fans. He's saying, Simone, get rid of that mentality.
To a point, though, like it gets to a point where it's just like
it's lonely at the top. I get it.
It's not as fun. Like all my life, they've been, like it gets to a point.
Yeah, Commanders fans, y'all not the ones the Eagles fans want. They want us.
Speaking of which, I see in the chat, in the poll, by the way, a ton of Commanders fans in here, even though there's no Rio. So shout out to the Commanders. He will be back next week. He's hoping he comes back with Terry McLaurin. Like I said, he's out there on the hunt, trying to get him back into camp, getting him ready for the season.
Start a GoFundMe, guys. Start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, exactly.
Terry McLaurin.
Big shout out to the chat, to everybody in here. Door Gunner, we appreciate you again. Firefox, Cool Cat, Sean, Todd, and everybody else in here with us on a Tuesday night for the first episode of the season of the NFC East Roundtable. All right, Simone, I said the Eagles, they feel underrated in a way because they just dominated in the Super Bowl. And other than the late game comeback from the Rams, they really dominated throughout the entire postseason. They're coming back this year in what feels like a situation where they're better than ever. And yet when you talk about teams during the offseason, I feel like I constantly hear about the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bills. And maybe it's just because the NFC hasn't caught up yet in terms of the top tier talent, where there's just a pool of teams that are all fighting with one another at that top. But talk to me about what you've seen from these Eagles this offseason, because, we saw Jalen Hurts after the Super Bowl. He's already on to next year. He doesn't even care that he's coming off of a victory that was a career-defining victory. He's on to the next one. What's been the vibe like throughout training camp heading into a year where these Eagles are trying to repeat?
Yeah, so obviously Jalen Hurts said, he didn't put his championship ring on because that was a ring for last season. That was last season. Also, our rings came in late. We were actually supposed to get our rings in June, but y'all saw how extravagant the rings were. The jeweler said he needed more time. So we got the rings in July. So, training camp about to start. You know how Jalen Hurts is. He's probably like, you know what? I need to leave that in the past. But that's been the whole vibe. Like Jordan Mailata also said, they're not labeling this as a chance to repeat. Like they're not looking at this as a chance to go back to back because it's a brand new team. It's a brand new season. So they've completely put the Super Bowl in the past. So obviously we as fans, we're holding on to this until February, you know what I mean? But it's good to know that the players have that mindset going forward. But yeah, I feel like our defense is really what has me the most excited. Like our linebacker room specifically, has a chance to be even better than it was last season. We obviously had Zach Bond last season go on and be a Pro Bowler, a guy that was a prove-it deal free agent coming from the Saints where he was a special teamer, coming to us and being a Pro Bowler middle linebacker was huge. But we added so many dogs, no pun intended, to this linebacker room. We got Jahad Campbell from Alabama. Jahad fell to us 31. We only had to trade up one spot for Jahad Campbell. And this is a guy who we didn't even know was going to be ready for training camp because he had a shoulder injury coming out of college. But he was ready to go day one at camp. He's getting reps at almost every spot on the field, outside, edge, middle linebacker. He's getting so much experience and he's making an impact pretty much everywhere we put him on the field. So that's super exciting because obviously Nakobe Dean went down late in the season. So we had Oren Burks kind of stepping into that spot. But now we have Jahad Campbell. We have Jeremiah Trotter, who's looking even better. And then we got Smile Munden from the Georgia Bulldogs. Y'all know how the Bulldogs have been working out for us. We bring in Smile Munden. This guy we got in the 5th round, I believe, but he is popping off so early at camp. And the defense is just, we only lost one offensive starter from last season. That was Mekhi Becton. So offense, we already know offense is going to look extremely similar to how it looked last season. A lot of the focus has been on the defense. And the defense has just been looking so good. Quinyon Mitchell, I'm saying him and A.J. Brown, every day at camp, it's AJ Brown might win one rep, Quinyon win the next. AJ win, Quinyon win. AJ win, Quinyon win. Like, Quinyon has gotten so much better from what we've seen at camp so far. Obviously, we got to see it in game. But this linebacker room and this Quinyon Mitchell, and then the defensive line. So our defensive tackle group, y'all already know Jalen Carter, wrecking ball. Y'all already know that. Y'all talking about Micah Parsons on that. We got a group too. You know what I'm saying? So y'all already know what Jalen Carter is. But Moro Ajomo has been waiting in the wing. He was the guy behind Milton Williams, was the guy behind Fletcher Cox. Moro Ajomo was the guy behind Milton Williams. So Milton Williams, we let him walk. Moro Ajomo, he's looking so freaking good. Like, this defensive tackle rotation that we have, it's about to be so good. Could even be better than last season. Like, the linebacker room and the defensive tackle room has so much freaking potential to be better than last season. So defense got me fired up. Like, I'm ready to go.
Listening to you talk, it's incredible. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, maybe the best offensive line in the league, and yet the defense is probably going to trump that in terms of the overall power being put out on display on the football field. It's just incredible. You list off the talent that the Philadelphia Eagles have, and it just feels like right now they're right here and everybody else is at least a step behind. Door Gunner, by the way, coming back in. He's on fire tonight on the NFC East Roundtable. He's saying Eagles fans want Dallas for Dak. They don't want the JD5 smoke. Dak about to be blessed by JD5 this year. No more padding stats on bad NFC East teams. Damn, J Tuck, he's coming at you hard right now with the Dak.
My memory.
Washington fans got real bold, bro.
Didn't Washington?
This is what I'm saying, bro. They ain't got a mouthpiece. They have a mouthpiece on. I'm trying to say.
I don't. Yeah, we'll get to Washington here. Plus Rio's gone, so I'm gonna handle the Washington segment.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about Washington.
When you've been dormant for so long and you finally get the chance to scream from the mountaintops, you got to let it rain. Yeah, that's why I wish Rio was here, because I'm sure he'd be backing it up as well as he possibly could. But we do know those Commanders. I know it. Rio, he's waiting until he gets his best opportunity to strike. He's thinking maybe next week could be the move, so he'll be back for sure. I want to talk about your New York Giants, KB. I want to talk about what's going on at the quarterback position and your early thoughts on what that's going to look like. We've been talking about this for some time. You did get the quarterback in the draft, not necessarily the one maybe you wanted. I know when we talked about the draft, Cam Ward was your guy, and you were hoping maybe the Giants would end up with him. Wasn't in the cards, but they end up with Jackson Dart. Now, of course, having Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. So what's it looking like thus far at camp? Your read on what Brian Daboll's read is, and how do you think this is going to unfold based on what you've seen thus far through August here?
Man, I'm really excited about, not even about the Giants this year, because let's be real here. Come on. It's the Giants we're talking about right now. But, camp is going nicely. If this was an actual, rebuilding team, because the Giants are such in, the in-between right now, because this is the fourth season with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, and they're kind of just now getting their rebuild going, and it's actually going coming out pretty well. Our front seven looks absolute dangerous. No pun intended with Russell Wilson, but it looks, our front seven looks absolutely amazing. The offense is starting to come together. We actually have a quarterback that can run Brian Daboll's offense. Brian Daboll is it's a complicated offense, a lot of concepts, a lot of routes intersecting each other, things like that. It's very different from your prototypical college offense, so it's a little bit more to kind of grasp, and that's something that a big problem that Daniel Jones couldn't handle over the course of time that Brian Daboll was here. So it's good to see that we're actually getting good quarterback play. Russell Wilson isn't who he was back in 2012, 2013 or anything like that. Or 2014 when he went to those Super Bowls. But he's still a experienced quarterback. He's still a veteran, a guy that can make all the throws, still has the arm strength to get to push the ball downfield. So I'm happy about that. And as far as Jackson Dart goes, listen, he wasn't my guy. Definitely wasn't my guy going into the draft. I wasn't too enthused by the picks to keep it short and simple. But he has impressed me during camp and actually has performed a lot better than I thought he was going to do in camp. And that's something I had to eat my crow on. I thought he was going to be kind of terrible because the guy was learning how to cadence coming out of college. Like, what kind of quarterback doesn't cadence at the line? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a guy that just claps. Like, he said that he was having a tough time doing that. So, he really picked things up really quickly. Brian Dable, of course, is in love with him. That's his guy. That's Brian Dable's quarterback. That's the quarterback he wanted. I'm sure if Cam Ward was there, they would have taken him, but he was their next best option. He's looking good. He definitely, I would say, still needs a year. You know, I'm not going to go off and just say, like, Jackson Dart should be starting over Russell Wilson or even Jameis Winston, but I think the Giants are looking good. You know what's the biggest problem, the biggest hurdle is the fact that we have the hardest schedule in the NFL, literally. Like, it's the hardest, as far as strength of schedule goes, it's the hardest schedule in the NFL. So it's a big hurdle for the Giants. If they are a typical 7-8 win team, they're going to look a lot worse because of the schedule. They'll probably be a 4 or 5 win team when they aren't actually so. So it's unfortunate. But slowly but surely, the Giants are coming back, baby.
That was hard. That was hard to listen to.
Well, it gets even harder. It gets even harder, Simone, because Door Gunner, he just set the sprinkler system off. He's on absolute fire, and he's coming in to rain down on KB. He's saying Giants fans down bad, excited about a washed Russ. Denver massive cap hit to let him go, and Pitt, who desperately needs a QB, said, nah, we will pass. I mean, these are facts, KB, but how have you found yourself sort of marrying into the idea that Russell Wilson's going to be your quarterback?
I don't think people realize how bad the Giants had it at quarterback for a long time. I'm talking even in 2016 when the Giants made the playoffs and they went 11-5 with that amazing defense, Eli was not playing well. We haven't had really good quarterback play since 2015. 2015 Eli, where he made the Pro Bowl. That's the last time the Giants had good quarterback play. Do not rain on my parade. This is the best quarterback we've had in 10 years, okay? This is a start.
You want to put rankings on my quarterback.
This is a start. Hey, listen. We've gotten places. We won playoff games, with bad quarterback play. So we were able to get by. But if we finally get something going, listen, I said it. I know this isn't 2013, 2014 Russell Wilson, and I know he didn't have a great time at Denver, but really I had to convince myself this as well, but really look at Russell Wilson and his time in tenure at Denver and Pittsburgh, and it wasn't really that bad. People were just made it really bad, and Denver thought that they were going to make a Super Bowl the moment they got him. That's why they were really disappointed with how the results came. But look at the stat line and everything. It wasn't that bad. The Giants would take his stat line with the Denver Broncos any day of the week, any year. They would have taken his stat line when you had Daniel Jones for 6 years throwing 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, okay? Every year. So we are happy Russell Wilson is here, okay? We're happy.
Well, KB, you say it's not that bad. Door Gunner says it's actually worse than you're even anticipating. He's got Dable and Shane gone by Thanksgiving. He's got them gone before the turkey.
I wouldn't be surprised if things go really bad. Like, our schedule is brutal. Like, our home opener is against Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Like, what do they expect us to do? We have Washington, who swept us and is on the rise. Then we have Dallas. I really think we're going to beat Dallas. But if we don't, then we don't. But then we have Dallas, and then our home opener is Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. My goodness, why are you putting that on prime time? It's like watching a murder on live TV. What are you doing? I don't understand.
The NFL can't give you a break, KB.
Nope.
Neither can Door Gunner. I mean, he's just not stopping. He's saying Russ behind that offensive line. That's big ziti.
Our O-line looks pretty good. We have center problems, but our O-line looks pretty good this year. It looks pretty good.
Before we move on from the quarterback topic in New York, I need to get your thoughts on Jackson Dart and what's the plan here, because I know Door Gunner he's being facetious in saying that maybe he's not. But he's saying, Shane and Dable could be gone by Thanksgiving. Shane and Dable just hitched their wagon to Jackson Dart here. This is the future at some point. Is it going to be the future at some point this season, KB? What's it going to take for Jackson Dart to get out there? Is it going to take a terrible start from New York, or is he inevitably going to get out there at some point regardless? What do you think the plan is? What are you hearing out of camp?
Well, if you're a Giants fan, you don't hope Jackson Dart comes in, because if he comes in, he's the panic button. He's the panic button. He's that signal of hope that teams put out and coaches put out to try to not lose their jobs, even though it doesn't really work all the time. To give the fan base some hope going into next season and try to instill something, get some sort of juice or spark going towards the end of the season. If you're really hoping the Giants are successful this season, if you're a Giants fan, you hope Jackson Dart doesn't have to play. So as far as the plan goes, the plan is not to play Jackson Dart. That's why they got Russell Wilson. That's why they got Jameis Winston. In fact, they got Jameis Winston before they got Russell Wilson because they knew they were going to get a quarterback, and if it was going to be Jackson Dart, that they did not want to put him out there and stunt his growth. Look at Anthony Richardson and the way his career has gone out. I think he would have been a much better quarterback if he sat and stood for a couple years learning under another quarterback. So the plan is, they want Russell Wilson to start the whole season. Hopefully he's healthy and see where they go from there. Of course, tough schedule, but you got you have to play the people that you have on your schedule. So you gotta work with it, and hopefully they win games and make it to the end of the season. But me being a realistic Giants fan, that is not gonna happen. We're not gonna have a playoff berth this season unless I don't know, God is really taking favor with the New York Giants this season. Jackson Dart is going to play this season. It's not the plan, but he's going to. If the Giants are the regular Giants and they're just terrible, as always, Jackson Dart's going to play, be that signal of hope, and try to convince ownership that the coaching staff and the GM should stick around, and that regime should stick around for another year to watch Jackson Dart develop. But I think Jackson Dart will play, but it's just not the plan.
Well, Dart Gunner, he's saying whether it's Jackson Dart, Ross, Jameis, JMS is going to get him killed, and he's saying the Giants are talking about the draft by mid-October. For your sake, KB, I hope we're not doing that again. I hope we can at least be alive until Thanksgiving.
I was so checked out last season. I was talking about Cam Ward in October, November, man. Oh my goodness. I wanted to lose games last year. It was crazy.
I know it. I know you did, and it still didn't work out. That's what sucks the most.
Indianapolis.
J-Tuck, we're hearing a lot about Ben Johnson, a whole hell of a lot. We're hearing a lot about Kellen Moore. We're hearing a lot about Mike Vrabel. We're not hearing a whole lot about Brian Schottenheimer. What can you tell me thus far as he's heading into his first year as an NFL head coach? What's that looking like? What's different between this year and last year? And what kind of has you excited or maybe, I don't know, pessimistic? What are your overall thoughts on how it's been thus far, about a month away from the kickoff of the season here?
Yeah, I'll be fully transparent. When we first hired Brian Schottenheimer, I really wasn't much of a fan of the hire because I feel like the Dallas Cowboys, a lot of people don't realize this. We were trying to bring back Mike McCarthy. We gave him a deal. He said, nah, keep it. And he walked on us. So it wasn't like we fired Mike McCarthy. But then when we hired Brian Schottenheimer, I was like, okay, well, let's see what's next. And the one thing I can say, since the moment Brian Schottenheimer was hired, he's done a phenomenal job about the staff that he's brought in. He brought in Clayton Adams from Arizona. He's also went to the college ranks, is something the Dallas Cowboys typically don't do. He got Junior Adams, who was a highly talented wide receiver coach coming out of the University of Oregon. He also got Connor Riley. He got your guy and Ken Dorsey as the passing game coordinator. Then he brought in Matt Eberflus from Chicago. So I felt like Brian Schottenheimer has brought together a staff that's going to be younger, energetic, and more modern. Mike McCarthy, love him to a fault, but the one thing I'll say about Mike is he's going to give his homeboys a job, man. Our offensive line was 80 years old, some old coach in Mike Solari, who Mike McCarthy knew from back in the day, right? I feel like there's been zero connections with Brian Schottenheimer and the staff, but he's brought in quality guys. And the thing that you're seeing and you're hearing the most in Dallas is culture, energy, and brotherhood. The one thing you see with these players is they're connected with each other. Like, that's what I'm saying. You're seeing right now a bunch of players on Twitter and Instagram, they're changing their profile pics to Micah Parsons. And that's something that Brian Schottenheimer's really thought. Now, from the X and O standpoint, I think offensively, I'm excited already. Even today at the scrimmage, I'm seeing tons of motion, and something Cowboys fans been screaming for a lot. Also, we're seeing the tempo with the play calling is playing at a lot faster pace. Also, we have faster players when we have Kevontae Turpin now playing the slot a little bit more. And then also we drafted Jayden Blue out of Texas, who was a hybrid wide receiver / running back with some burst. So you're seeing our offense look a little bit more modern. From a defensive standpoint, The one thing that does concern me is our defensive tackles, but Matt Eberflus is cooking up something. I noticed this yesterday. I was doing my film sessions on camp because we are the most loaded team at defensive end. It's almost stupid right now, like how many defensive ends we have, and does it make sense? Though we lost to Marcus Lawrence, when we signed Micah Parsons, we had Micah Parsons. We just brought back Dante Fowler from Washington. Then we got another steal because I know Simone and them got a steal with Jahad Campbell. I don't know how he fell to us, but Donovan Zikuraku out of Boston College was one of the best defensive ends in all of college football, and we just snagged him just to snag him. We get Sam Williams coming back from off an ACL injury, so our perimeter is loaded. So I think overall, Brian Schottenheimer has brought new energy. And the one thing that Cowboys fans should love about Brian Schottenheimer and why he should get a lengthy leash is because he was very vocal saying, you know what, go get that beast out of Pittsburgh. I can handle it. Because they tried to go get Rashad Bateman. They tried to get Rashad Bateman out of Baltimore. Baltimore hung up the phone. There were some options. They were possibly consuming Amari Cooper. And I know the Cowboys front office was kind of on the George Pickens thing, but Brian Schottenheimer put his foot down and said, no, I'll handle it. So for that, you good in my book. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people, I see them comment in chat, commanders, left hand up and all that funny stuff. Let's not get it twisted. With Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, we are going to be a problem as long as we stay healthy, right? And I feel like Brian Schottenheimer had a very integral part in bringing Pickens to Dallas, and we'll see how it all unfolds. But from an offensive standpoint, I'm excited. I think we're going back to the Dan Quinn-ish type Dallas Cowboys where we're scoring 40 points and can't stop the run, but we're getting turnovers, getting sacks, so we're just going to let the bodies hit the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think we're built for winter in the playoffs right now, but we will light up a scoreboard, and we have some guys that if you have to play from behind, we will definitely get after the quarterback and cause havoc.
You brought up CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Dak Prescott, three guys that I'm sure are on many people's fantasy draft board. And that brings us to our good friends over at RotoWire. As I see you guys disappear, I didn't mean to make it disappear, but I had to bring up my friends over at RotoWire because it is almost time to get in those fantasy draft picks. If you're like me, you wait all the way till the end of training camp, make sure there's no injuries, there's no holdouts before you make your picks. We're almost there. So in a few weeks, when you get into it, make sure to use RotoWire. Here's the website. They're powering the show, by the way, and we're excited to be working with it because they are offering a draft assistant over on their website. And this thing is awesome. It's a tool where you can basically go in and practice different types of draft strategies as many different times as you'd like. So you just throw in a name here. So I'll just type in my name. You go in here and you can build your own plan. So for instance, if you want to play it safe in the early rounds, balanced, or you want to go for upside, you can select whatever works best for you. So we'll just go balanced for everything here. You kind of list out exactly what works best for you. You can even add custom players that you want to make sure you target in on. And then once you do that, it'll bring you into their database here. It'll bring you into a mock draft and look at all of the information available at your fingertips right here on RotoWire. The layout is as good as I've ever seen on any fantasy platform, and I love the way it looks. It's just really clean, and it's got all of the necessary information that you're going to need to make the accurate draft choice coming up in your fantasy draft. So make sure to take advantage of our promo code with RotoWire. It's going to be linked down in the description below. I almost said prescription, but I prescribe RotoWire because it is worth using this upcoming fantasy draft. The promo code is RTS. The link is in the description. And that promo code RTS is going to get you 15% off a premium subscription with RotoWire. So make sure to take advantage of that. One other thing we're also offering this year, guys, which I think is awesome, and I would love for as many people as possible to take advantage of this because it could get really interesting during the season. We're doing Patreon. And if you sign up for the Roundtable Sports Patreon, you are eligible to call into the show. And I can only imagine how wild that could get as the season gets underway with all of the interdivisional matchups. I can just see it now, Rio getting into it with somebody who calls in after the Commanders drop one or two that they weren't supposed to. That could be you. You could be the person calling in to let Rio have it or anybody else on the panel. The link to become a Patreon member, that is pinned in the live chat. That if you're currently on YouTube, it's also in the description below. Just head on over to that link. You can join up. There's a variety of different perks, but nothing better than the ability to call in that could be a lot of fun. And I know Rio's not here, but I basically just volunteered him to be the first person to have to answer the phone call when we get a couple of signups on Patreon this upcoming year. All right, gang, I want to go around the table here and talk about maybe a thing or two coming out of camp that fans outside of your own fan base might not be talking about. What's one or two things that are standing out that the rest of the league might not know, but you are really excited about to see within your own team? Simone, I'll start with you. And I know we already kind of went over what the Eagles got going on, and they have a lot going on. They have a lot of great going on, but what's one thing or two things that are standing out to you out of training camp that you're really excited to see from this Philadelphia Eagles team this year?
So number one, I already talked about Quinyon Mitchell, just because obviously last year, his rookie year, cracked top 50 in the NFL top 100 list, number 49, and he's just already primed to position himself to be one of the best corners in the league this season. But an under the radar guy, Elijah Cooks. So Devontae Smith missed like the first half of training camp. AJ Brown hasn't been practicing the last couple of days, so that's been an opportunity for other guys to get more reps with the ones. Elijah Cooks is somebody we picked up. He's basically been sitting on the practice squad for about 2 seasons now. Former receiver for the Jaguars, but Elijah Cooks, he's been making a lot of plays. Like every single day, he's making a crazy catch, contested catches. Every single day in camp, he's been making plays. So Elijah Cooks is definitely somebody I'm going to be like hyper focused on, like in these preseason games, in the joint practices when they start coming up, because everybody knows AJ, everybody knows Devontae. And then after then it can get a little, a little murky. You know what I mean? Like Jahan Dotson and Jalen Hurts, they have a good connection. I don't know why we didn't get Jahan Dotson involved as much as I think we should have last season. But it's always great when another wide receiver steps up, especially a guy that flew under the radar. We drafted 2 wide receivers actually in the draft last year. We got Ainias Smith, but Ainias Smith was pretty much injured all offseason. They couldn't really get in a rhythm once the season started. And then we got Johnny Wilson also last season, but Johnny Wilson just hasn't been able to be consistent. So we have a guy this year that's just, someone who's been been marinating on the practice squad in Elijah Cooks, and now he's just cooking essentially at practice. So I'm excited to see him. We had Britton Covey last season who kind of stepped up into that wide receiver 4-3 type role. But he battled a lot of injuries, ended up going to the Rams, and he was mainly a returner for us. But we see what the potential could be when we have like that additional option outside of AJ, Smitty, and Saquon. And now it's looking like Elijah Cooks could be him.
KB, I know you got to be excited about Abdul Carter. He's looking like he could be a beast. Tyrone Tracy, another year coming up here, and then we'll see what happens with Jackson Dart. But what else is coming out of Giants camp that has you in particular excited going into this year? Something you're looking at that maybe everybody else isn't talking about?
I think the Giants' run game is looking really, really solid. As far as the Giants' defense, their front seven looks great, but I would say one of the weaknesses is the interior defensive line. So maybe that's why the run looks unstoppable. But Tyrone Tracy in his second season and now a starter as the unofficial quote-unquote preseason depth chart comes out, Tyrone Tracy has taken the mantle over Devin Singletary, who's still a good running back. And then you got Cam Skattebo. Cam Skattebo has been like giving the juice out there in practice, working with the second string guys, and then occasionally working with the first string guys, and like dominating every time he plays. So the run game is looking really consistent. The Giants have not had like a true running back by committee in a long time. You can go back to like Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw. We had Saquon Barkley for a while, but we'd never been able to have anybody behind him to really spell him as a wide receiver, as a running back. So I think the run game is going to look really good this season. And I think the offensive line as well is going to look better than they've been looking the last 10 years if they stay healthy. They started off pretty hot as far as keeping the quarterback upright and being very efficient in the run game as well last year, but unfortunately they had a lot of injuries. But the offensive line and run game look really, really good. And I just want to brag about Abdul Carter for as much time as I can. But Abdul Carter is I think is gonna be literally the next Micah Parsons. So he's absolutely unstoppable. Nobody can stop this guy, and we've come to the point where we're expecting these highlight tapes in training camp like every single practice, and nobody is saying anything badly about the person that got exposed, the person that got knocked to the floor. It could be one of our starters, and you just have to, I guess, not feel bad for him, but you just it's Abdul Carter. It's Abdul Carter, so he's gonna wreck everybody. So that's where we come to with Abdul Carter. So I'm excited about him. I had to brag about him just a little bit more because I know Micah Parsons having his contract disputes right now.
I know. I've been seeing the waves that Abdul Carter's been making too. It looks like he's been dominant. I'm looking forward to watching him get into regular season play because he was just phenomenal at Penn State. And if the Giants can really shore up that D, run game gets going, I don't know, KB. Russ starts dicing. We could be talking a whole different Giants.
Russ starts cooking. Let Russ cook.
Jay Tuck, Door Gunner, he's saying the Lamb and Pickens crash out tour on Dak. He's here for it. We're talking Pickens. We're talking CD. Of course, Dak is back. We have a new head coach in Dallas. What else is everybody talking about around Jerry World? What's the one thing that Cowboys fans, and you in particular, are excited to see going into this upcoming year?
I think the biggest thing for me is that Cowboys fans appreciate Door Gunner in the super chats, but didn't the Commanders lose to Cooper Rush last year?
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
Didn't Jayden Daniels was in a battle of his life versus Trey Lance last year? Can we please, you know what I'm saying? I know Rio's not here, but can we please pop the balloon on the Commanders real quick? Because I don't know where this Commanders fans getting. You guys
balloon is crazy.
The NFC Championship and got drugged. And you're excited about that. Like they were just happy to get drugged for 4 plays. Where is all this confidence coming from? Because we didn't talk about the Commanders. Where's all this fake bravado coming from when it comes to the Commanders? We did not struggle with the Commanders at all, and they didn't even play Dak Prescott at all. Cooper Rush walked through them, and they had to bench Jayden Daniels because Mike Zimmer had that man in a blender. They pulled him out in the second half. Where's this?
I'm telling you, they got a mouthpiece.
But where though? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be different. They went to the Super Bowl and lost. They got drugged in the NFC Championship game.
55.
Like, what's to be proud of that? All you did was have a few more games, and you paid more for tickets to get embarrassed by Philly. Like, what are you so excited for? Like, Debo? Was it Debo? Your draft was mid, right? You still don't have a running game. Like, I get it, you get Von Miller, but where's all this bravado coming from, bro? Like, no one believed this time last year. Nobody believed in the Commanders. Who believed in the Commanders? If y'all remember, because KB was here. It was me. I believed in the Commanders more than Rio
in the preseason, yeah.
Bro. So I believed in y'all last year, but I'm telling y'all, pump the price because we will pop that balloon. No, nothing the Commanders have done is keeping me up at night, but I like the new uniforms. All right. What's going on in Dallas? I think one of the biggest surprises outside of our offense is our backup quarterback in Joe Milton. I think that this year we actually have a decent quarterback to play the backup position. Joe Milton's looking great, and he just made some big throws here a second ago at the scrimmage. Brian Schottenheimer spoke very highly about him and his progressions. He's adapting. And a lot of people don't understand. They saying Debo Sanders, hot damn. Okay. But a lot of people don't understand that Joe Milton was somebody that Dak Prescott asked for. So it came out reports that Dak wanted Joe Milton. So they made that play to get him. So I think our backup quarterback situation has drastically improved. I think a sleeper conversation piece that's not being talked about, and a lot of people probably wouldn't talk about it because it's not big headlines, but I think the Dallas Cowboys did it again. And I said this when we got them. What do you mean by that, Tuck? Well, we got Brandon Aubrey, who's probably one of the best kickers in football right now at the USFL. We got Kevontae Turpin, who was one of the best kick returners, who returned the kick to win the game versus the Commanders, right? And then they went back this year and they got a kid who I was extremely high on coming out of the draft. It was a third-round pick to Cleveland, and Perrion Winfrey that went out of Oklahoma. He had some issues off the field, was out of the league, but we brought him back as defensive tackle, and he's extremely disruptive. He's having an incredible camp right now because we need it, especially in the interior position. So Perrion Winfrey is probably a sneaky story that a lot of people probably won't talk about, but the kid looks good, and I think he's definitely going to have impact. Another ones I already mentioned earlier, Donovan Zikaraku, right? So just like KB was talking about Abdul Carter's just causing havoc at camp, Donovan's doing the same, which as a Cowboys fan, it excites me, but also I get a little hesitancy because it's like, that's where the Cowboys gears can start to turn. Like, hey, well, we got this kid out here, and I mean, he's just interrupting practice to the point where they had to pull him out so we can get some reps off the field. Maybe we can let Micah kind of sit out for a little bit and see what we really got. So Donovan Ezekaraku is playing phenomenal. Perion Winfrey, Joe Milton. But I'll say it here. You can cry in the chat all you want. Dak Prescott will be at an MVP level. He will be at an MVP level this year if healthy, because even though we've been preaching run the ball, and Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, we're not running the ball, y'all. We can't even run it right now. I'm watching versus the Rams. We cannot run the ball. If we are going to compete with Philadelphia, compete with Detroit, I'm skip over the Commanders. I'm not worried about you. We can run the ball versus Dan Quinn. That's no issues, right? But you also have Kansas City. You also have some of these other teams like KB's defensive front in New York. We're not going to be able to run all over these NFL teams. If we are going to win ball games and be competitive and be a playoff caliber team, it's going to rely on the arm of Dak Prescott, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and Jake Ferguson, who looks vastly improved as well, coming off his leg injury for last year. So I definitely think that Dak will be playing at a high level because he looks sharp right now. And he's moving out the pocket. You know what I'm saying? So he's moving out the pocket. So he seems to be better.
Do you believe that?
No, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, he's moving.
Because the first thing you mentioned was how great Joe Milton is. I don't know.
Well, I'm saying, but if Dak goes down, right? Even though Cooper Rush did dog walk the Commanders, right? I feel like we can be more competitive in those games with Joe Milton than we can play with Cooper Rush. Like when we had Cooper Rush versus Philly, I'm like, bro, let's get this over with because there's zero chance. I feel like you can structure an offense around Joe Milton to still be competitive, right? I'm not saying you can still win a championship or he's going to replace Dak Prescott or anything like that, but I feel like he's vastly improved and is an upgrade over Cooper Rush and even Trey Lance, of course. But I like traits.
Where's Cooper Rush? Do you guys still have him?
That's what I was about to say.
He's in Baltimore. He's in Baltimore. Like, how do you go from Lamar Jackson to Cooper Rush? Like,
yeah, that's not much of a scheme fit, if you ask me.
Right. Why didn't they keep Tyler?
Why did he go to the Browns is the bigger question. They have like 5 billion quarterbacks over there. Why do they need another one?
Tyler who?
Tyler Huntley.
Oh, yeah.
He went back to the Browns today.
They have 6 quarterbacks now. 6.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
And they drafted 2 of them.
My bad, Commanders fans. I'm sorry for bringing that up. That you guys lost.
You need to save a little.
My apologies. I think y'all forgot.
No, don't apologize. You got to save a little bit for me because we have one super chat I want to touch on in the end before we wrap up. But before we do, a couple of more to get to. Door Gunner, he's saying the Giants are running to the number 1 pick in the draft. Hey, KB, you want Arch Manning? I know you do. So that might not be the worst thing in the world if that ends up happening. Firefox.
Oh, God.
Eagles O-line is going to son Abdul Carter. Man, it's coming from all angles right now, KB.
I would love to see that happen because Abdul Carter hasn't lost a rep that I've seen.
And then Door Gunner.
Seen our guys.
You dang right he has.
And he wanted to be a Philly. He a Philly fan. So.
That's exactly why he's gonna destroy him.
His mindset is gonna be off. Like he's gonna be,
And then Door Gunner, he's saying an NFC East championship game. No Cowboys fan has ever posted on social media about a championship game. Playoff Dak.
Why would we post about getting dog walking the 4th place game?
The best Dak.
I wouldn't post that either. Like, I wouldn't post that.
Conserve that energy because we're going to end the show. We got to talk about the Commanders a little bit in lieu of our boy Rio not being on. And Coles is bringing us right to the topic.
Oh, my dog gets it, bro.
He's saying Commanders taking a step back. I'm calling it right now. I'm going to go down the panel before we wrap up. Simone, what are your thoughts on Cole's take? Commanders taking a step back. What do you think? Do they take a step back? Do they stay where they were at, or do they get even better? What do you think about the Commanders?
It's tough. I don't want to just go on and assume Jayden Daniels is going to have a slump. Like, that's just – I don't want to just assume that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not concerned about the Commanders because I don't think personally they have an answer for Saquon. Like, I have not seen them address Saquon. Saquon tore him up. Their defense is not scary to me at all. Obviously, their offense, I feel like the offense is still going to be supercharged. But I don't think their defense is going to be enough to take them far in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be enough to take them maybe even to the playoffs, because as you mentioned, KB, we in the NFC East, our schedule is so tough. I think their offense is still going to stay high power, but I'm just not convinced about that defense. So it's just, it's as far as that offense can take them.
So Simone thinks it's Jayden Daniels to the promised land or potentially a step back, like Coles is saying. KB, what do you think? Step back, the same, or even better for the Commanders in 2025?
I think they're gonna take a step back. It was definitely a lot of magic going on last season. I'm not gonna take anything away from them. They did what they did. They went to an NFC Championship game in their first year as a regime. So I mean, congratulations to them. And Jayden Daniels
was so petty.
and everybody knows here that I was a huge Jayden Daniels fan. Back in college, and I wanted him to be a Giants quarterback. So I got love for Jayden Daniels, but the team as a whole is gonna take a step back. They really, I don't know if they really upgraded that team to the point where it's gonna take them over to the top. And then now teams have film on them, so it's just not gonna be the same. On top of that, with the schedule, a lot of the play in this division is gonna be overshadowed by how the schedules are. So I definitely think they're going to take a step back. And I don't know what's going on with Terry McLaurin, but hopefully he's shipped up out of here. All I can say is it's looking great for the Giants, okay? Micah Parsons is probably going to leave. Scary Terry is going to be out the division too. And Saquon Barkley's on the cover of Madden, baby. I love it. The Giants, we up, baby. We up. Come on.
Giants number 1 in the division by default. KB just gave you the math. Firefox is saying Commanders are going to be a glorified retirement home. J Tuck, you already unloaded on these Commanders. I hope you saved a little bit for me. Are they taking a step back this upcoming season?
It's midnight, Cinderella. But I do like Jayden Daniels. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. I mean, we talked about him coming out of the draft, right? But like KB said, there was a lot of close games, Hail Mary games that they won. And I think their defense was ranked, 29th last year? And so I don't feel like they made these drastic improvements, right? They got some names of some guys, but it's nothing to really be concerned about. And when you look at their schedule, when they have a Green Bay, they have Detroit, like they have Kansas City, like they have some tough opponents outside of the NFC East as well. I am not really losing sleep about the Commanders because now they have to live up to the expectations of the NFC Championship and that 4th place trophy that they got, right? So I think that they do take a step back. I think they will be competitive. If I had to gauge it, Dallas, Philly, Washington will be in the thick of things. I personally think Philly will ultimately separate in the division, unfortunately. But I think it's going to be right around there. And I would probably say if everyone is healthy, right, because we all got to factor in health, we could probably have 3 teams from the NFC East in the playoffs this year.
Hey, man. You didn't have to do us like that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, KB. I mean, you can watch, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can live stream it or something.
Hey, man, I can't. Listen. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be the nice guy. Wait, let's give it a couple of years when the Giants are on top. You know what I mean? Getting back to the playoffs, Super Bowl runs and stuff. I'm going to remember all of this.
I mean, didn't y'all go toe-to-toe with the Commanders early in the season last year?
We did. Both times, actually. Both times. We lost by a total of
They barely beat the Giants.
Kenny Pickett went toe-to-toe with him. What you mean?
So, yeah. And
that's true.
Then they lost to Cooper Rush. And
they won by a Hail Mary to the Bears. And they had a miraculous. And
the Falcons.
Man, bro, what are we doing, bro?
Yeah,
all right. So it's real. That's my dog, though, man.
I was gonna say, because Door Gunner, he's saying Washington brought in line help. Next week we're bringing in Commanders help. Rio will be in attendance, and he'll have to answer for all this. And if you know Rio, and we do, he's going to have the answers. So we look forward to hearing from him next week, as well as Simone, KB, and J Tug for another episode. But for right now, the first episode of the 2025 season on the NFC East Roundtable has come to a close. Nearly 200 of you rocking with us on our first episode, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And thanks so much for all the super chats tonight. Not only were they funny, but they kept the conversation going, and we really appreciate you sending those along. On your way out the door, links in the description for RotoWire. Take advantage of that 15% off using the promo code RTS. And make sure to join the Patreon. Super chats are great. Hop on the phone and get a phone call in. That's even better. Looking forward to doing that throughout the year. But for right now, First episode is in the books. Once again, Simone, so great to have you. Looking forward to an awesome season here on the Roundtable. KB, J Tuck, great as always. Looking forward to seeing Rio next week. Thanks so much to everybody once again for tuning into the NFC East Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Dak for MVP.